Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm glad to see you, glad to have you here. Love to have a little communication with you if you want to talk, and if you're coming back, welcome back. I'm glad to see you. Let's talk about a day in the life of a hospice nurse, or we can talk about a facility nurse. I'll talk about it. I am a hospice nurse. That's generally 8 to 5 position. Hospice nurses can be an on-call position. They could be a PRN position. On-call is a little bit different, but I have done the role of a RN case manager, registered nurse case manager for my patients. I get a patient, I want to say load, but that's not a nice thing to say, is it? I get a group of patients that are assigned to me, generally in a specific area. Sometimes they're a little bit spread out depending on how other nurses' caseloads are. And every day I wake up as an RN case manager. The first thing I do is look at the on-call report to see if anything happened with my patients overnight, because I need to know that going into my day to see if I need to add a visit in or address anything that occurred overnight. On-call nurses are really good. A lot of times they've addressed the issue, but it's still good for me to follow up with my patients. So I start with the on-call report. I look at that. I make a note of anything that needs to be addressed. And then I look at my schedule for the day. And if I need to readjust something, I adjust it. If I need to add someone to my day, I ask to have a visit added to my day. If I need to move somebody off of a day, a lot of times the patients that I have, unless they're new, have an understanding of about what day I'm going to come and around what time I'm going to be there, because I am a creature of habits. And in hospice, you can't necessarily be a creature of habit, but you still want to try to keep a pretty steady schedule when you're doing hospice nursing. You want to make sure that you are communicating with your patients, because you got to understand that they have things they need to do too, the caregivers, and they are waiting for you to get there. They are waiting for you to get there and provide the care that you need to provide. Sometimes they need to run an errand while you're there doing the care that you're doing. And if you don't come in a timely manner or the time that you agreed upon, or you didn't communicate that, they didn't get the break they needed, or they didn't get to do the thing that they needed, or you've prevented them from doing something that they needed to do by not being reliable. You have to be reliable as a nurse when you're doing home hospice, because a patient needs to know about what time you're coming. Now, I just told you that hospice isn't a regular schedule generally. So there are things that come up. There are things that happen, and hospice patients generally, I think, have an understanding of that. The next thing to do is, if you're not going to be there, you need to let your patient know, hey, I'm running late. Hey, I'm not going to be able to come today. And you know, we all have those patients that have wiggle room. We all have the patients that we can move around the schedule because they're easy to move. But even those patients need notification of what day you think you're going to come, what time you think you're going to come. It's really important to them to have that communication with you. And that's also a good time for caregivers to let you know if anything changed, if they really need you today and you need to work it in. And also, when you're looking at your schedule in the morning, say you have 6 visits and you need to add a 7th. Sometimes that's just not doable depending on where you're driving to. And so it's good to reach out to your team manager and say to them, hey, can anybody help me today? Because some of us nurses might have 3 or 4 visits that day, and we would be glad to help you. The beautiful thing about working in home hospice, or the teams that I have worked with, is that we aren't always together in the same building working together every day, but we're working together. We are working together even though we're not in the same building together. It's really an amazing thing when you work with a good team who all wants to be supportive and help each other. So that's another thing. I look at my schedule. I plan my day. After I do that, then I make my breakfast and my lunch. I make my lunch in the morning to take with me, because I'm not coming back home probably until 5 or 6 in the evening, probably not till 6:30, depending on where I'm coming from. You know, because when you get in rush hour traffic, you're going to be in traffic for an hour, especially where I live. So I make my lunch, I make my breakfast. I try to have my coffee, but generally I don't always get my coffee in the morning, so I take coffee with me. It's also good when you're doing home hospice and home health to know where you can stop and get gas that's safe, where you can use the restroom that's clean. Find locations that are close to where you're going. I love going to facilities. I do. And I'll tell you why. When you have a facility day, your body and your brain knows when you're going to be able to take a bathroom break, and you can kind of plan your day around that. The bad thing about working in your car, though, as a home hospice nurse, is that you probably don't drink enough water. You probably don't, because you don't want to have to try to find a restroom sometimes. That is the challenging part of doing, that's one of the challenging pieces of doing home care, is that you have to know where there are public restrooms that are clean and available to you. And I say clean and available to you. I will tell you that I have learned which gas stations are clean, which stores I can go into. I'm one of those people that feels guilty, like I need to purchase something to use the restroom there. But now I'm like, hey, I've purchased a lot of stuff in here. I purchased gas here, and if I need to use the restroom 1-2 at a time, I'm coming in here to use the restroom. So I would say, plan your day for that. Make sure you have snacks throughout the day. I always say you should stop and take a break and really take a break. Okay, I feel like when you're doing RN case managing, you're never really disconnected from what you're doing throughout the day. And that can really begin to wear on you emotionally and mentally. It's really important that you take a break. I give very good advice, but I very seldom follow it. That's what Alice in Wonderland says. And that's true for me. I am not good about stopping to take a break for myself. I will keep working through lunch to get my job done because I want to get my work done. But it's really good to take a mental break, to eat some food, and if you can, to get out of your car and sit down and eat, because eating in your car is it's so terrible for you, and it's messy for your car. I keep snacks in my car that I can grab throughout the day because a lot of times as a RN case manager, you are driving a long distance. You're driving 20 miles sometimes, and sometimes, depending on the traffic, that can take you 45 minutes to an hour to get 20 miles. Depending on the terrain, depending on the weather, depending on the time of the day. Maybe you're going to be in your car and you're not going to get time to stop. So you do get hungry sometimes and need to have something to eat until you are able to stop. And try to stay well hydrated. Try to stay well hydrated, because I'll tell you what, I'm guilty of that, and I get such bad headaches when I don't hydrate. So I would say make sure you have lots of water. If you love coffee, have some coffee in there. Know your bathroom places. So after I get everything together, see, I'm a little bit chaotic. After I get everything together and I head out the door and I start heading to my first visit. When I'm in a visit, I get there, make sure that you're keeping track of your mileage. If you get paid for mileage, I think most of us do. And when you get there, make sure that you document your mileage, keep track of it, because I promise you're going to need to. And also get in there, make sure you have all the equipment that you need to take in with you so that you're not running back and forth to your car. There have been times that I have to run back to my car, and that's so hard to have to run back and forth. So if you know a patient has a wound, if a person's communicated to you that there's been a change and that you need to bring some supplies, a good thing to do is to set a day in your schedule where you can stop by the office and grab the supplies that you need. Because as case managers, as RN case managers, CNAs, anything, we keep a stock in our car, or we're supposed to keep a stock in our car of supplies that we might need, whether it be catheters, wound cares, sharps containers, briefs, pull-ups, pads, the chucks, the wipes, gloves. It's good to keep all that stuff in your car so that you have it handy, because you're expected to provide those cares and to provide supplemental supplies when needed. So the things that is important is that you gather all the things that you need to take into the house. You need to have a clean and a dirty when you're doing it. We have these barriers that are reusable that we can sanitize in the company that I work for now. And make sure that you have your cabbie wipes or your disinfectant wipes, whatever that looks like, gloves in your bag, and your hand sanitizer, and all the things that you need, all your equipment. And be ready to see your patient. Spend time with your patient, do your assessment, and my patients like to know when I'm en route. Even though we have an agreed upon time, they like to know, hey, I'm on my way to see you. I'll be there by this time for sure. Some of them just know when I'm going to be there, and they are good about, they don't need any extra communication. But a lot of my patients are saying like, hey, can you text me when you're on your way? Can you call me when you're about 30 minutes out? They want to know to be ready for you. Some of them have dogs. Let me tell you what, you're going to encounter animals in home care, okay? As a nurse, I have seen peacocks, dogs, cats, turkeys, chickens, horses, cows. I guess there's a donkey in some cases. I've heard of a donkey being at some of the visits and maybe the donkey bites. I don't know. You're going to encounter wildlife and animals when you go to people's homes. I love cats and dogs, and so it's okay that I encounter those, but people need to know if they need to put their dog away or their cat away. Maybe they have an attack cat, it's possible. But they need time to know how to plan for your visit to be there and put those animals away that you may not want to encounter face to face. So then at the end of my day, we do a stand up and stand down. Usually I'm in the car during those things when I'm out in the field, and that is where you're going to get information about who was admitted overnight, if anything changed overnight, what's going to change. At the end of the day, you're getting a recap of maybe what you heard in the morning plus whatever happened throughout the day, whether that be a death, a discharge, a new admission, an anticipated admission, if somebody's going to respite. It's hard sometimes to keep track of all those things, especially if you have 20 patients, or sometimes just keeping track of 15 patients can be a challenge. So sometimes you have a really high caseload, and it's good to keep touch base with your manager and know what's happening at the beginning of the day, what's happening at the end of the day, and having a point where this is the end of the day is coming. So prepare for that. Plan your day according to the start of your day, the end of your day, and your traffic. I'm a little bit chaotic. I think some people are organized enough to pack their lunch the night before, but I have good intentions, but I just never quite accomplish it. I used to like when I would cook dinner at night, save the dinner for the next day, and that was a really good time. But a lot of times I'm preparing breakfast and lunch in the morning. And not just for me, for my partner, because I like to do that too. I like to make sure my partner has lunch and breakfast, and that's a way we stay connected when we're busy both working and we're not home all day and we don't see each other until the evening. So I would say that's the hectic part of my morning, is trying to get out the door. I have a really hard time getting out the door in the morning. In any case, in any job, in anything I do, I get little thing to death getting out the door because I didn't make my lunch the night before. I didn't plan it. So then I am running back in the house for my glasses, my coffee. Maybe I forgot my nursing bag. I've done that before, gotten all the way to a patient and realized I did not have my nursing bag that has my stethoscope, blood pressure cuff, and thermometer. And that is disheartening when you realize that you left it at home and you don't have it. So I'll tell you what, I have another bag in my car that has those things in it in an emergency. I've also left my bag at a patient's house at the end of the day. And that is embarrassing, but it's happened to me a couple of times. You get talking to the family and you leave your bag. And you're not going to get back to it for hours. So it's good to have a backup plan in your car too. It's good to have those stock supplies that you need. It's good to have a backup plan. So I actually do have a backup stethoscope, blood pressure cuff, pulse ox, and thermometer in my bag, so that if I if my brain didn't work and I left my bag somewhere, I've got a backup plan. And it is embarrassing when you do that, let me tell you. I don't think I did stuff like that when I was younger. I don't think I forgot things or got distracted that easily. Just seems like sometimes, especially since I've been a hospice nurse, I will get to talking with a family member, or, I'll do the signature piece of my visit. And you sign out, and inevitably every time you're there for 30 minutes longer because somebody says, oh, and by the way, I wanted to talk to you about that one thing. Or they say, I forgot to tell you, but mom's not, mom is, dad's not. And then you're there for another 30 minutes. And I think it's that end of the day one when it's uncontrolled symptoms or emotional issues. I put my bag down and I pay full attention to who I'm talking to. And that's how it happens every time. I have a tendency to put my bag where I'm giving patient care. And when the family wants to talk, I'm going into another room, sitting with the family and having that conversation. And I've left my bag in those situations. But I tell you what, I try not to do that anymore. I try to really think, did I remember my bag? And I've said to my patients before, oh my goodness, I forgot my bag. And they will say to me, hey, don't forget your bag. You develop a good rapport with your patients, especially the ones that are declining a little bit slower. So then I come home and cook dinner for my family and do schoolwork when necessary. And then I go to bed and get up and do it all again the next day. So for me, it's chaotic. How do you do your day? How do you start your day? Do you exercise in the morning? Like, I've tried to do that. I've tried to get up and exercise in the morning first thing. And I have a tendency to want to lay in bed for 30 minutes before I get out of it and get into the showers. So I wake myself up 30 minutes before I need to wake up so that I can lay in bed. But I think if I would actually get up and do exercise, that would be a good time to do it. Is that, like, if I jumped out of bed and did my exercise in the morning, I'd probably get going a lot better in the day. So tell me about your day. How does your day go? I want to talk about being a facility nurse because that looks totally different, but I rambled on about being a hospice nurse because that's what I'm doing and that's what I love. So I would love to hear about your day, about things that make it successful, things that make it challenging for you. I talk about time management a lot because that's an issue for me. I would love to talk about that anytime because I am always open to suggestions. So if you like what you see here, I would ask that you like, subscribe, and follow. And I thank you for watching and hope to see you soon.